Welcome to my favorite chapter. We are talking all about herbs today. The great benefit of growing your own herbs is that you're able to go out and pick the herbs really fresh. So it just takes your cooking up another notch because the aromas are so much stronger and you can really taste it, smell it in your food. In this chapter, I'm going to teach you everything you need to plant and harvest rosemary and a couple of different types of oregano. So let's dive into it. We've got some rosemary right here. We're going to be growing it from transplant. And then these are two different varieties of oregano. This one is a Greek oregano. The flavor is a little bit spicier. This is kind of what you're used to put in spaghetti sauce or anything like that. And this is the Italian oregano, and the leaves are a little bit smaller. It has a little bit more florally scent and flavor, and it's not quite as strong as the Greek oregano. And we're doing all these from transplants because it's much easier. They're readily available in your local garden store. And if you tried to grow them from seed, you'll wait pretty much a year before you get to this size. Growing from transplant, you're able to start harvesting in 30 days. When you are at your hardware store looking for transplants, really what you're looking for is a plant that the leaves are bright green, they're vibrant, they're not droopy. So I picked these and I'm ready to plant them. But before we do that, we're going to talk about sun and nutrients. All of your herbs like full sun. We're looking for 6 to 8 hours of sunlight, full sun, so they can grow their best. When planting your rosemary or your oregano in a container, the minimum size would be a gallon-sized pot and at least 8 inches deep because they do get big, and for one plant, you want at least that much space. You can also plant your herbs in a raised bed. This one that I have is about 17 inches deep, but the minimum depth that you would need would be 8 inches in your raised bed. And now we're ready to plant these herbs, so let's get into it. So I've placed these pots already. I'm doing rosemary in the middle, the 2 Greek oregano next, and then we'll end with the Italian oregano. So next thing you need to do is just pull them out of the pot. And sometimes you'll notice that the roots start wrapping around the pot. You know, they're inside the pot, they've hit the bottom, and they have nowhere to go, so they just start wrapping around. You want to break open those roots, right? Tickle open those roots, and it lets the plant know that, like, now, oh, I'm no longer in a pot, and I'm going into the ground and I can stretch my roots out. If you leave that root, that's called being root bound, in a circle, when you plant it in the ground, it's gonna stay going in a circle. It's gonna still be in a circle and grow in a circle, and it won't reach out to get the nutrients it needs, and it's gonna struggle to establish itself, okay? So we like to open it up. It's okay if the dirt falls off. It's just really important to liberate those roots, okay? Then we're gonna dig a hole, and we want the hole to be the depth of the pot, but really we want the soil surface when we plant it to be right at the base of the plant, okay? Firm up the soil around the plant, pat down the soil. When you are selecting your rosemary varieties, there are what are called upright rosemary. So this one is an upright rosemary, it grows up, and then there is trailing rosemary. So depending on the look you want, you might pick a rosemary that trails. That means it's gonna grow and hang over your container. So you have some options with rosemary, upright or trailing. And they're all just as fragrant and useful and beautiful. So just pick whatever works best for your environment. Rosemary is planted and they look great. And now we're on to the oregano. This is the Greek oregano. And we're gonna put those 2 next. So if you're not sure about the flavor of Greek oregano and Italian oregano, and you're in the store and you're just kind of like, I don't know, what does that taste like? Just pick a leaf and taste it. You know, That's really kind of like floral, not as spicy, really nice. Last one. We are done planting our rosemary and our oregano. Now, we water them in. We always water in our transplants because they have just experienced what they call transplant shock. They have come out of a pot, they're going into the ground, and they need a wet environment so those roots can start taking up nutrients. So we're gonna water them in and soak at the root very deeply. Circle the plant and get it right there at the root, okay? Because I want it to go down in there. Remember, these plants were in a pot about 3 inches deep. So we want the water to get all the way down into the root profile so they can get acclimated to their new home and they can start pulling up those nutrients. And we're good. Our rosemary, our oregano is planted. It is watered in. Moving forward, rosemary and oregano are not going to require much water at all. You actually want to let the soil dry in between watering. These are Mediterranean plants. They like a dry, hot environment, right? So they're very low maintenance and you won't be spending time babying these plants. So we just wait for them to grow to the point where we can start harvesting. And I planted some rosemary and oregano on the other side of this container, and they've already doubled in size, and I would love to show you. So let's check them out. So these are the rosemary and oreganos we planted 15 days ago. They have doubled in size. They are green, so we can see all the new leaves that they put out. It can be really tempting to harvest them at this stage, but we're not ready just yet. When you are harvesting your herbs, you want to leave 4 inches worth of foliage. So I would want to wait another 2 weeks so that they're a little bit taller, and then we can start harvesting from our herbs. But they look really good, and you see how this soil is still dry. We want that. They like a dry environment. So I'll meet you back here in a couple of weeks, and we will talk about harvesting. Today's the day we get to harvest our oregano and rosemary. They have grown and they look amazing. It has been 30 days since we got these transplants and planted them. They have more than doubled in size. I'm really pleased with this progress because the plants have gotten bushier. They're putting out new leaves and new stems, and I get to harvest them today, the best part. When you are harvesting rosemary or oregano or other herbs like thyme or sage, you know, the more you cut them, the bushier they get. So don't be afraid to harvest your herbs, use them up. And the way you would use your herbs, I mean, rosemary or oregano, it depends on your recipe. Sometimes you need a bouquet garni, right? And so you would tie rosemary, oregano, maybe a couple of other herbs together, and you drop the whole thing in your soup or your stew or whatever, inside your chicken, however you do that, and it just imparts the flavor. So we're ready to harvest, and we don't need much, just some scissors, or you can use your garden shears. You just want to make sure that you're leaving 4 inches worth of foliage left behind so the plant can continue to regrow. All right, so this stem right here looks really good, so I'm going to just kind of go in and cut right there. And there's our first sprig of rosemary. That smells so good. Yeah, so I think I need a few more sprigs, and this guy's looking really good, so I'm just gonna cut right here. I'm gonna cut 2, 1, 2. And look at that. This is just a nice, freshly cut rosemary. Now you can just harvest the next plant and just continue harvesting around this little patch, and you'll just have a nice forever patch of rosemary. I'm going to show you how to harvest this oregano. So with the oregano, we also want to make sure that we harvest, but leave enough that the plant has enough foliage left over so that it can continue to grow. And I like to find just sort of like the taller stems and just snip them, right? I think I'm going to go in with this guy right here. Oregano has a very strong scent. You don't need a whole lot of it. I've got enough here, I can use it on some shrimp or put it in my sauce or some fish. When you grow it yourself, the flavors are more intense, it's a lot fresher, it lasts longer, and a little bit goes a long way. If you happen to kind of like, you go out and you harvest more than you can use, that's okay. You let them dry and they're just as great. I mean, the flavor is still super strong, and look, you just created your own dried herbal seasoning. In this chapter, you learned all about growing your own rosemary and oregano. It was so much fun growing with you, and I wish you lots of success in your own garden. Until next time.